So what I want to do with this session, and thank you guys for coming back. I want to just kind of show you guys some of the tools that we use here at Google that are externally available. That you guys can use, to get insights around who your target audience may be, Hispanic or non-Hispanic, analytics as well, what the opportunity is like, depending, on so just ways that you can use our tools to get at insights. And again, most of our products are free, so anyone that has an Adwords account or a Google account has access to these tools. So I think earlier we talked about, seemed like search was a big interest, like how do we get at some of search insights, like when I showed that slide, and I can probably pull it up. Let's see. This is the deck that I showed earlier today. When we looked at, how do we get at this 150K number, right, in terms of opportunity. So, do you guys want to start with that? I can just start kind of going through some of the tools that we use and that I use in my day-to-day job. Yeah. To kind of just show you guys, right? And these actually get at really interesting insights from a general market and Hispanic audience standpoint. I guess before we start, who here is familiar with AdWords interface? Okay, so we have a few people here. Okay. Great. So pretty much, this is our internal AdWords. Looks the same. The only thing that's different is anything that's in blue, it's internal. But as you can see, there's really not a big difference. It's the same interface that you guys see, we see on our end. So to start with, why don't we so who here is running AdWords campaigns? Oh, it's a lot of you guys. I think you mentioned this earlier. I wanted to kind of look at your opportunity, right? And so we can look at, let's work with your business as an example, to kind of see opportunity trends on search, and then you guys can use sort of that methodology to apply to your business if that works. Okay? So within AdWords, you'll see a tab that says Tools, and all these are, again, it's externally shareable. So there's a keyword planner and a display planner, Google Analytics as well. This depends on whether or not you have Google Analytics plugged in the backend, which you can do easily by connecting your account in AdWords with your Google Analytics, which gives you even more insights. So for anything that's search keyword related, you can go into the keyword planner tab to really get insights around search and search opportunity. So here I'm going to start over. So we can just tell me what your business is, what you're what questions are you trying to answer?
I need to know.
So, and let me just get your microphone. So yeah. Thank you, Liz.
I need to know how many mothers are within 60 radius miles from where I live, that are between 25 and 40 years old.
Okay.
That have a salary range of 50,000 to 100,000.
Okay, so your target is a Hispanic mom, right?
Yes.
In the U.S.
Yes.
Let's take it. Let's start with the national level.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So if we're looking at it from a search perspective, right? The way that we would be able to get insights as to what this mom may be searching for, right? So you're saying again, Hispanic mom.
She's ages between 25 and 40.
Okay.
And she's searching for things for pregnancy, maternity.
Okay, pregnancy, okay.
And baby.
Okay, great. That gives me enough information to kind of start doing some, interesting research. So pregnancy, maternity, and babies. Okay. So I actually, good. It's good because I work with Pampers, and all these big brands, right, that are interested in these insights. So what we usually do, again, this is from a search angle perspective, right? So they come up like you, so I want to know, right? My target is a Hispanic mom, 25 through 40. You know, maybe she has a toddler, has a newborn. So how can I reach her, right, on some of the properties at Google? So of course, search is kind of like, you know, one of the main things that we go to. As I mentioned before, given that it's more of that consumers already, you know, showing you intent, right, to buy a product, to find more information, to just, you know, they're showing interest, right, in your company or topic already. So that actually, you know, like works well, right? And believe it or not, pregnancy, maternity, baby is huge. I mean, it makes sense, right? Hispanic audience, 60% of the population, 1 in every 4 US Hispanics, 1 in every 4 babies in the US is of Hispanic descent. So a lot of interest, you know, in those types of terms. So let's start pretty broad, right? All right, so Liz told me what she wants to kind of figure out, right? So what I do here is, you know, what this tool does is that it pretty much, you know, plugs in the back end to our historical search information, and then it also, based on that, it helps to predict search volume and search trends, you know, and we'll look into it. But what I'll do is, you know, type in something very high level that a Hispanic mom may be searching for, you know, in the US, right? So I have to, at this point, we actually don't have a way to segment Spanish queries in the US yet. But if we give it 1 or 2 keywords or words in Spanish, it'll just, and you'll see it'll spit out a ton of information where you can kind of start getting insights from. So here, let's type in maternidad. Okay, that's a great word to start. And we always recommend staying high level, just because that's where you see more of the insights and more of the opportunity. So let's use maternidad, and then, you know, do you have a landing page? What is it? PrettyNB.com. PrettyNB.
And for mom and B for baby.com.
Okay. So actually, let's just start without the site pick first. Let's just do maternidad. And then here, what I usually do is, you know, we're targeting the US, right? And again, this is externally available. So in the US, there's, you know, we're able to target you via a few different ways, but one of the main ways is through browser settings, right? So default settings in the US are English, right? So that when you search, all your results are in English, your user interface is in English. However, what we're seeing is that around 1 out of every 4 US Hispanics actually changes their settings to Spanish, right? So these are the people that, you know, are probably more Spanish dominant, that, you know, they want to see their search interface in Spanish. So instead of, you know, like search, it says buscar, whatever, right? So what I usually do to kind of get a better read on the audience, right? Especially when you're looking at Spanish behavior, I just usually pick, you know, look at users who have their settings set to Spanish in the US. That'll give me, I think, a little bit more insights to work with, and it'll help me get at more at that, you know, actual demographic that's more Spanish speaking or that's searching in Spanish in the US. So I use that, and then, you know, here I should just do Google. The Google and Google search partners are those that power their search engines with Google technology. So like Univision, I know does that. Telemundo, I think does that. So, but for now, let's just keep it to Google. And then here, you know, you can actually pick a date range. You know, so I usually do like the widest range available. So like, you know, over the last 12 months, and then negative keywords here. Do you guys know what negative keywords are? Okay, so this is actually really interesting. So negative keywords are sometimes, you know, like you associate something, sometimes you don't want your brand to associate with things that are negative, like that may not align with that, right? So what's a good example? So for example, you know, let's take, this is Colgate, right? They're like a oral care company. We actually had an instance where they were running a campaign for their dental floss, right? And so like they wanted to target Hispanics. So they were running on hilo dental, which is, you know, dental floss. However, hilo dental can also mean something else. It's Spanish.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, they were like, oh, we're spending so much money, you know, like a lot of interest. Can you take a look? What's going on? For those of you that don't know what hilo dental is, it's like, tanga. Yeah, there you go. Yes. So, just to make it culturally relevant for you guys. So, you know, like people were searching for hilo dental, but we were also confusing that with, you know, hilo dental, the tanga, right? And so, you know, this is where we were actually had to come in and advise. And we're like, well, you know, this is where you actually have to think about, okay, what what can this word imply, right? In other countries, it may mean something completely different.
Yeah.
So you always want to make sure that, if your brand or like you're running on keywords that may have other connotations or that may have other meanings, to have that into consideration. The same thing happened for, actually I'll just stop there, but yeah. But like things like that you need to want to think of. So we'll see what comes up with maternidad. This is live, so nothing is being censored or so, just bear with me. I don't know if some things will show up that are not very PG, so let's just see what happens, right? But again, here, you just want to make sure that, think about those instances where, there may be keywords that may not be relevant or that may not, that may have those other meanings, so that we can work on making sure that we're capturing the right user. So you just go get ideas. So this is where our tool really starts to work. So here, what you actually start to see, right away is, what are people searching to related to maternidad, right, to maternity? Here you kind of see, average monthly searches by month. So kind of see, you look at the seasonality, right? So we kind of see a spike in December, but not really much seasonality, right? It's pretty constant throughout the last 12 months. The other thing that you can do is look at mobile trends. So we know that, the audience is very, very active on mobile devices. So for example here, what I like to do is actually show this, which is, pretty interesting. You're actually seeing here that most searches are actually coming from mobile devices and combined with tablets and computers, right? So this is something that we actually see across the board with the Hispanic audience. They're actually using more mobile devices and not using more, but they're searching more from their mobile devices than from an actual desktop computer. So what does this mean for your brand or for your negocio or for your business? You want to make sure that you have a mobile optimized landing page, right? If more than 50% of your traffic is coming from mobile devices, then you want to give that user a good user experience, so you make sure that you have a mobile optimized landing page. So that's the recommendation that we would make, right, based on this information here. So, Liz, do you have a mobile optimized landing page? Not to put you on the spot, but
I'm working on it. The e-commerce platform that I have is eMySolution, which is kind of like BigCommerce.
Okay.
And they do provide that, but then they have specific things like you have to pay them if you want to go the next level to show the entire site.
Okay, all right.
So they have restrictions, so I have just the basic right now.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, again, that's a recommendation that I would make to you, right? Think about really having an optimized landing page.
And how about mobile apps?
And so that's another whole story that we can go into if you want, or we can talk about separately. But that's another huge area of opportunity. So when we look at keywords, right, it's like, okay, what are they searching for around maternidad, right? So here we're actually seeing average monthly searches. That tells you, okay, there's a lot of volume around these keywords. So, bebé. So there's actually a really good example of, like something that can be confused. So bebé is bebé in Spanish, but it could be a brand, right? The brand BB. So this is where we don't have any capabilities yet to be able to kind of, get the user intent, whether they mean the BB brand or the BB, or the baby, right, in Spanish. And so here what we would do is, okay, you probably shouldn't run on bebé by itself, right? But like ropa de bebé or, ropa para bebé, right? So add in, make the keyword a little bit more refined so that you're not just wasting your money on the keyword bebé when the user may be maybe looking for the brand BB. But you're seeing, like embarazo, madre, embarazo semana a semana, mujeres embarazadas, etapas del embarazo, right? So you kind of start to see what types of searches or what kind of information that mom is looking for while they're pregnant. So, thank you, Anthony. Like definitely a lot of interest, from the Hispanic mom in the US around embarazo, calculadora embarazo, desarrollo del feto. So, this is where this helps you in two ways. Start developing like your content strategy for your site, right? It's like, what is that information that the user is actually looking for? And then use these keywords in your campaigns so that you're actually capturing that user intent. So this is one way to use this tool. The other, the other way to use it is it actually gives you it really works on campaigns for you. So you can actually see them, the tool categorizes the campaigns here for you, like by ad group. So, you start actually, I usually just download this and then kind of look through it to make sure that everything makes sense. But it just, really expands, based on user behavior and, what are some of the keywords that you might want to run on. For example, here, this seems like a, more relevant ad group here. So embarazo semana a semana, right? So,
Anything about la lactancia?
sorry?
Nada cerca de la lactancia.
So we can type in lactancia as well. Let's see what we get. So here you're seeing, interesting stuff. And this is, you're in this space, so you can tell me. For lactancia, it's like leche materna, recién nacido, amamantar, amamantando, lactancia. So not as much traffic, not as much information, or not as much interest on lactancia versus maternidad. And just in general, like lactancia prolongada, right? So the thing is that, right, it's like this tool, it only gives you information based on what you feed it, versus we have other tools that are, that and I don't know if I have time to show you it, but like that can give you more like, what brands are associated with, what other keywords, in the same search session, right? If they search for maternidad, what other keywords they search for. I don't know if I have time to show that tool here, but we also have those types of tools. But I think this is more helpful, if we're thinking about, okay, what kind of content do I want to develop, right? And then what types of keywords do I want to run on my AdWords account. What you can also see is a breakdown by location. So here you're seeing, pretty much, for lactancia terms in the US, right? There's the other, but then the buckets California, Texas, New York, Florida. So, it's pretty, right? It's pretty predictable. Those are big Hispanic DMAs. So a lot of traffic, coming from these states as well. So again, there's a lot of things you can do, using this tool to really get at, what are people for searching in Spanish around your product or service. Any questions? Is this interesting to you guys? Yep.
I might have missed this, but I just want to clarify. So can you search like based on the Hispanic community, or is it you manipulate the tool by using the Spanish words to just search in the Hispanic community?
Right. We manipulate the tool with Spanish keywords, given that we don't yet have the capability to just segment by Spanish. So that's that's something that we're working on to solve for. But for now, this is like what we have externally available to to kind of let you get more insights. And just to kind of be completely honest, it's like this is what we use for any client insights that we for any client insights that we need to pull, because we just don't have that capability yet. So like if you're Hispanic searching in English in the US, there's no way for Google to know that you're Hispanic, right? So if you search on Nike, right, or on a brand name that's not Hispanic focused or Hispanic specific, we really can't know whether or not you're Hispanic.
Is there a way on here to see, like you can show it's from New York or Texas or wherever?
Mm-hmm.
Can you break it down further by city and that sort of thing through AdWords?
That's a good point. Yes, that's a good question. And yes, you can. So if you go here, you can actually break it down by state, so like New York, right? Or you can even do it like by zip code, so 10011 or 001, right? Actually, no, because that's my zip code and it's not showing up. But you should be able to do it at least at the DMA level. So New York DMA, you'll see here, you can add.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. The only thing here is that remember, you just won't get as much, to get the volume and probably the insights will be less, right? So I always recommend using the national targeting and then kind of scaling it back to whatever place your target is.
I use it sometimes.
Mhm.
This tool. I found it very interesting. The problem was for me that probably I didn't have. I need some inspiration for the keywords.
Right.
I found it there. I started the campaign, but the very good the value was called yes. So I called Google and they said probably thank you. I did some mistakes. I don't know, maybe it's me, it doesn't work. So they give me great piece of advice. And they said, this is a tool, so they give you some hints. Then you know better. You know better. You have the product, you know your area. And so let's work together. And they talk with the real person. And they are maybe, changing a little bit here and there, remove some, sometimes you take entire sentences, and maybe the entire sentence doesn't really work.
Right.
And you have to focus. So you need to have an interaction with somebody that's, give you real business. That's my suggestion.
Someone else, I think you had a question back there? Or you? And then we'll come back to you.
Does it have tools for things like call to action, like someone looking up for a direction, for instance, to a location, or I don't know if Google does this, but like a page to call option, things like that. So are those kind of tools represented in this toolkit?
So we definitely can, add we call them ad extensions on the actual ads, and we can report on those, right? So if you add in an extension, call extension line, or pretty much like a call extension, we can report on that. But you mean actual insights with this tool?
Well, I guess if someone's trying to plan their marketing budget and they're looking for a specific action, let's say the most important thing for me is for a client to call me,
right?
Or a client to look at my directions, because that shows more intent than just clicking on my website.
Exactly.
Are there marketing tools like that specific for that brand?
I don't know if there's marketing tools like that specific, but we can help you track those actions, right? Using Google Analytics in the back end. Also, and if you actually have an account, you can go in there and kind of look at, right? People clicked on, on that site link that said, find a store nearby, or if they actually called. What I can tell you from a Hispanic perspective is that, so usually in the retail space, and this is changing, but historically Hispanics don't really check out or buy online. They'll go online, they'll research, they'll look at your product, but ultimately what they're doing is going in store, to buy the product or service. So we see it a lot with the telecoms and the retailers. So I work on the telecom vertical as well, where they'll research a phone or a contract plan, but they won't actually go through the full transaction online. They'll actually come in the store and they actually do it there. And there's a lot of theories as to why that may be, right? It's some of them don't trust, online transactions, right? A lot of other theories around the Spanish website not fully built out as much as the English site. So what we see is that sometimes, they'll start going through the funnel process, right, and checking out, and then usually they end up on the English language page. So these are kind of more insights that we know from working in the space, from kind of third-party research insights, although that's changing. But, right, so it's if you have a client that is more direct response, right, it's well, maybe you should. And what we know, click to call, right, does really well. So instead of them actually clicking on the site on the ad to go to the page, they actually will call. They will prefer to call and transact via the phone than actually do it online. So these are some of the insights that we're able to bring to our clients that you can apply, I'm sure, to your specific businesses. So insurance companies, I know that tactic works well. And you can track all that with Adwords. So we would recommend that based on the vertical that you're in and what your service or product is.
Can you break down the searches by age groups?
So that's actually something that unfortunately we are not able to do yet. This is actually something that we get it's an ask from our advertisers, right? So being able to really overlay demos over search information. I believe it's in beta, but it's not open to the, it's being tested, but it's not, fully available yet. The thing with search again, is that it's very intent driven, right? So if you're looking for that something already, it's kind of you're probably interested in that product or service. But great question, it's not available yet.
Would it actually know if that mom that is searching for that is actually a brand new mom, or is probably the grandmother?
Correct. Yeah. Not yet. Sí, claro. So I think it's not, we can't get that granular yet with search. We're working on it, but again, search is a little bit more of a self-intent, hand raiser type, profile, right? So we don't target you based on your past search behavior. It's all based on the actual query that you type in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about, is there a way of seeing what competitors are buying in terms of their AdWords?
Yes, you can do that. I unfortunately cannot show you any, unless someone is open for me to go into their AdWords accounts. If anyone has their account number, but yes, you can. So if you go into hold on one second, let me see. I mean, this is all, I wish I could show you. I can show you after. I can't project it, but there's a tool within the AdWords so-called Auction Insights, and it's it's really easy to find. It's within the AdWords tab, keywords, and it's just where you add in keywords. There's a little option that says Auction Insights, so that'll actually tell you what other advertisers are bidding on that same keyword. Yeah, so you can kind of see for this keyword zapatos, right? Zappos is probably, like competing against Macy's, all the big retailers. So you can see that within, it's called Auction Insights.
Thank you.
So say somebody searches education, could you see for that target keyword, can you see what are other related searches, all of that specific keyword also has been searched? Did you understand the question?
So the same, sorry, repeat, so like you mean?
So like if, say you search education right now, you see how many searches you've had. Can you search related searches to education?
So like if you search for education, right?
Yeah, say a user searches education, can you see like statistics for what's the top things people who search education have also searched for?
Oh, okay. Yes, it's called T for Trends for Marketers. And again, this tool is not available externally, but let me show you guys an example of something that I've done with T4M. Let's see. So this is something I've worked with. I work on L'Oreal. So this is what we call our T4M tool. So what it does is actually pretty cool. So someone that has searched for peinados, right, on google.com, we can actually tell you within that session what other types of keywords they search for. So what you're seeing here, is the bigger the keyword is on that slide, the more search volume there is. So you have people that are searching for peinados fáciles, which makes sense. It's a little bit more high level. But then peinados de niñas, peinados de fiestas, peinados de trenzas. So we can actually associate within a same search session, people will search for peinados and then probably went back to search for peinados de noche or peinados de novia, right? So we can probably plug in education and then kind of see, people that search for education, what else are they searching for? This actually allows us to get really a little bit deeper into like brands, right? So like someone that searches for L'Oreal, what are they searching for? Or someone that searches for Ford or a Honda. So we can do that and kind of associate, brand attributes or like, brand affinities, those types of insights we can get. Is this kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, this is actually exactly. So you mentioned search session. So is that only for like that period of time that the person is using Google, or is it every time they use Google?
It's I think it's 30 minutes search. So like let's say you went on Google, searched for this, right? Then went to a page, and then came back to the Google search engine, and then went to another search engine, or like to another partner that had a search bar. So it's 30-minute search session, or session that you're online.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, this is actually another cool thing that we're able to do, like really kind of tell you, right, like what other searches are associated with, like your searches for your brand or for other terms.
Options inside? This is options inside?
So this is actually not available like externally yet. It's a tool that we're piloting. But a lot of it is actually fed through that keyword tool that I showed you, right? So like if you saw like a maternidad, probably be very similar. So you'd see maternidad and you'd see like lactancia and all those terms. But yeah, it's pretty much the same tool.
I just wanted to ask, is all of this available on YouTube, or do you do hangouts for folks like this?
We do a lot of like these types of trainings. They're not available. I don't know if they're available on. I don't know. They probably are recorded like and the videos uploaded to YouTube, not sure. But we do have, like specialists, like if you're running your own AdWords account, that you can actually get in touch with, and you can actually even do video conferences with them that can help you with these types of insights.
Do you give classes at all, or are classes available to the public?
I think we do through our Google Partner Program, and I can look into that. We can take that as a follow-up and kind of help you guys send you to the site that probably has a lot of classes, right? But I think we do that. Any other questions? I'm sorry, these are great questions, guys. I hope you're finding this interesting. This is what I do a lot. So, and Diana, do we have classes? Do you know? You should know more.
I'm sure there's something online, and like you said, we can follow up with it, but I won't.
Okay. All right. Great.
I was going to say that you can actually, through the Google ad, they have some kind of classes that you can take, and then it, certifies you as, a Google AdWords specialist.
Specialist, right.
And they're really great. You can take them whenever you want.
Yeah, we can do that. And I think that's now, free. It used to be we had to pay for it. Now it's free, actually, for anyone that wants to be Google AdWords certified. Okay, so that's those are some of the search kind of insights you can get at on your own. If you have time, play with your AdWords account, kind of type in a few keywords and see what comes up. It's interesting stuff. You'll be surprised what you can find that Hispanics are searching for, and also general market. You can do it for any English term as well. The other tool that I wanted to show you guys is our Google Trends, which is another tool that is externally available that gives you a lot of great insights into where searches are coming from, what's actually spiking, what's not, right? Those types of things. So we do this a lot with advertisers in the entertainment industry, where they're like, well, the World Cup, right, was huge, right? It's so we want to look at World Cup's, trends, what happened within the World Cup, what were people looking for, who were the players that resonated the most with the audience, or things like that. So it's a great tool to use for these types of questions that you want to answer. So for example, let's do Copa Mundial, Brazil. There you go. Let's do Brazil there. And then in the US. So here, what's interesting to see is, hold on. This is worldwide, so let's just do US, since we're US focused here. So here, what this will tell you right away is, okay, so over time, this is what people have been searching for World Cup. You're seeing, right, really the searches around Copa Mundial Brazil start to spike before the World Cup, May, March, right, which kind of makes sense, a lot of interest right before the World Cup starts, and then a huge spike, right, in July 2014, which is when the World Cup happened. And then you're seeing here too where that interest is coming from. So surprisingly, Oregon is coming up, Florida, Virginia, Texas, California, New York. So top DMAs where, these keywords were coming in from, and then also other associated queries. So Copa Brasil 2014, Mundial Brasil. So let's take just Copa Mundial and see what comes up. I think you'll get a little bit more interesting insights there. And
ready for the kids next.
Am I on time? So here, this is something interesting to see, right? So clearly you can see here the three spikes for the last three World Cups, right? 2006, 2010, 2014, right? So definitely the interest has been increasing over time. More people are searching, as more World Cups come around. Again, intent from what parts of the US, and then other top rising terms. And you can do this for any term you want. You can compare to other terms. You can segment by category. You can do a lot of cool things with it. But these are, again, some of the tools that are free that you guys can use to help inform your AdWords campaigns, or if you have any questions, or any things that you sometimes wonder, right? Let me see what I can find out through some Google search behavior. So I think my time is up, guys, but I'll stick around for a little bit in case you guys have questions. Thank you for your time.